Hey everybody, it's your girl, Miss Public Info here with the latest and greatest and sometimes hated updates of the most high-profile cases going on around the country. Thanks so much for joining today. Happy Thursday Eve, everybody. We almost made it to the end of the week and it's just around the corner, so you guys hang in there. Okay, today we're going to talk about Wendy Williams because neurologists say, a new neurology report say that Wendy Williams does not have dementia. So we're going to get into that. And then we're going to get into this Donald Trump Epstein file of of it all. We're going to get into that and talk about what does the potentiality of real accountability look like legally here in the Trump situation. Of course, do not forget to subscribe and like Cast and Court TV. Thanks so much, everybody, and thanks so much for my new subscribers. Appreciate your support. Also, we encourage here for you guys to also engage with us in the comments respectfully, however, but definitely engage with us there and let us know what you're thinking about what we're talking about today. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about Wendy Williams. Obviously, the Wendy Williams situation is always a sticky topic because of the fact that Wendy Williams is a beloved journalist, former radio host, and then a talk show host, transferring from radio to television, which is not an easy feat, created a super multi-million dollar empire, a super large empire, comms empire, media empire for herself. And of course, her ride seemed to abruptly stop a few years ago when she had some health issues. So let's get into that. We kind of know the background on that, so I don't need to go into that, but I will do that a little bit for the folks who don't know. But what's top of mind right now is the report coming from a neurologist out of New York who is saying that Wendy Williams does not have dementia. Now, of course, this diagnosis, this temporal frontal lobal dementia, is what has put her under guardianship for the last 2 years, essentially. And that would mean if this was a misdiagnosis, if this is a large miscarriage of justice, not only for Wendy Williams, but for her medical status as well. Wendy Williams, of course, was diagnosed with Graves' disease. She was also diagnosed with having some sort of alcohol issue or whatnot, but she's been sober for quite some time. And her Graves' disease seems to be under control as well. So if she does not have dementia, it would seem that this could have been a temporary side effect of the drinking that she was doing. Also, it would also mean that these people should not have guardianship over her and ultimately over her finances. And this is what has been at the sort of, arc of this whole situation going on here. Now, a neurologist concluded that 61-year-old, I can't believe she's 61. She looks so great, by the way. A 61-year-old, Wendy Williams, does not have frontal temporal dementia after reviewing new medical tests conducted in New York City back in October. This is a report that's coming from TMZ. The results directly contradict the 2023 diagnosis that placed her under legal guardianship back in May 2022. Now, you guys may remember just a few months ago, she was looking to get this guardianship dismissed, and it was the court appointed a neurologist doctors who said that she had this dementia, but her doctors and the reports that she gave said absolutely not. Not to mention the reports coming from the court rendered doctors was not also an incomplete report. But the judge went along with it anyway and still placed Miss Williams under diagnosis. I mean, under a guardianship, continuously conservatorship, essentially. Continued conservatorship, although the medical reports are conflicting by both doctors and the court appointed doctor, the report was incomplete altogether. Now, sources in the know told TMZ that Miss Williams has shown remarkable neurological resilience since getting sober 3 years ago, and that frontal temporal dementia is progressive and irreversible. It only worsens over time, that people don't recover from it. So essentially, what I said earlier is that since she has become sober, it seems to the some of the mental side effects or neurological side effects that she was experiencing seems to have subsided. So what does that mean? That means that she likely does not have frontal temporal dementia, because as reports state, this particular disease does not reverse, that people do not get better over time, that it is just the person is in a maintenance state, if you will. A good example of this would be Bruce Willis, who also has aphasia, dementia aphasia, I believe that's what it's called, which is essentially this same condition, a little bit variable, that Wendy Williams has. And as you all know and have seen in the press, like now he is no longer living with his family. He's in a separate home owned by the family, but the family has moved out of that home. He has 24-hour nursing care, all the time. He's not able to get about on his own. He's not able to take care of himself. Wendy Williams is able to get around on her own. She walks on her own. She, has complete conversations with folks. She just did an interview. She was completely, able to take care of herself and self sustained. She also did, an appearance at New York Fashion Week just a few months ago. She looked the picture of health. Everything was fine with her. Matter of fact, I think this photo that I'm showing here is from that time. She never looked better. She spoke with fluency, spoke with normal articulation, all of that. So this would point to the fact that Wendy Williams does not have this dementia disease, and therefore should be taking out out from under conservatorship. Now, her husband, or ex-husband rather, Kevin, he has been trying to get Wendy loosened from conservatorship since the beginning of this thing, but not for the reasons in which we all want her out from under conservatorship, which is really so she can go about her life and live her life and do what she wants to do. Of course, you all remember that Kevin had an affair on Wendy Williams, had a child outside of the marriage, and the marriage was kaput. But since then, he's been trying to get his hands on additional funds of her, saying that he's owed half her fortune because he helped her build her media empire. Of course, Wendy Williams absolutely rejects this and says, he's gotten all the money he's going to get out of her, and she's given him all he's owed, alimony, whatever else it is, and he needs to go on about his business. So he has been trying to get conservatorship, or get that conservatorship lifted. The judge said in the last court appearance that he did with his lawsuit, he tossed the lawsuit. As a matter of fact, the judge did, and said that, hey, Kevin, sorry, but you are not a relative, you are not a husband, and you may not file for dismissal of this guardianship based on your friendship, is how he sort of posed himself in the lawsuit filed to strike the conservatorship. So I don't think Kevin will be suing for this anymore, and if he does, he has to come in a official capacity as a family member, which he is not. So it'll be interesting to see how or if that proceeds. But her attorney, Joe Tacopina, plans to file a petition within the next 2 weeks to end the guardianship, and he should, and it should end. He says if the judge, refuses, he'll demand a jury trial to get this guardianship lifted. No, Wendy's a court-appointed attorney, Sabrina Morrissey, stated in filings that Williams was cognitively impaired and permanently incapacitated. And Wendy tells a different story. Back in January, she spoke to the Breakfast Club. You guys might remember that interview, and she told a completely different story. Now, Sabrina Morrissey is the court-appointed guardian that it came out of this sort of Wells Fargo situation that sort of got the ball rolling on this conservatorship situation to begin with. But in the interview with the Breakfast Club just a few months ago, Wendy said the following. She said, I am not cognitively impaired, but I feel like I am in prison. I'm in this place where the people are in their 90s and 80s and their 70s. I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner right here on the bed. I watch TV, I listen to the radio, I look out the window, I talk on the phone. She called the guardianship system broken and revealed that she's been denied contact with her family, including her 94-year-old father, she says. She says, and quote, I don't know whether I'm allowed to fly to Miami to say happy birthday to my dad. I'm exhausted thinking about what if I can't see my dad for his birthday at 94, the day after that is not promised. Now, of course, she did end up going to Miami after this interview to see her father and other family members. And, you know, Wendy has been doing the very smart thing, which is continuing to keep her name in the press, continuing to let people know I am not this incapacitated person that this, Sabrina Morrissey person is saying that I am. I am able to take care of myself. I'm able to form complete sentences. I'm able to do that. Now, of course, you all remember this, February documentary that TMZ did called Saving Wendy Williams. This, of course, is after the documentary, the very irresponsible documentary that Lifetime channel did on her. And she had revealed in the documentary with TMZ that she had not been examined by a doctor. She said at the time, I was in Connecticut for a year and I didn't go see anybody. I've been here for 6 or 7 months at the time of the taping of this documentary, and I haven't seen anybody. The revelation raises questions about who benefits from keeping Wendy confined. Her guardian has controlled her finances and medical decisions for over 2 years. Wells Fargo, the bank, guys, initially raised concerns, as I stated, about the cognitive abilities, about her abilities, which led to the guardianship petition. So, really, this Sabrina Morrissey woman is the woman that is benefiting from the guardianship at this point. So I'm wondering, if Sabrina Morrissey needs to be investigated at this point. I'm hoping that once this guardianship is again challenged in court by her attorney Joe Taco Pina, that they're able to, dismiss the guardianship and then launch an official investigation against this attorney, Sabrina Morrissey, because this woman is up to no good, because there is no way that Wendy should still be under guardianship 2 years later. There's just no way that should be happening at all. Now, first we were dealing with Kevin Hunter, her ex-husband, filing this $250 million lawsuit back in August. He claimed, even in his dismissed lawsuit, that Sabrina Morrissey mismanaged her Wendy's care and the finances. But of course, his motives are being questioned because they aren't genuine. But it doesn't negate the fact that he's right, and everyone is right about Sabrina Morrissey's upkeep of Wendy's care and the finances. And I think it needs to be investigated. This is just ridiculous. So if the court accepts the new medical findings that Wendy does not have dementia, Wendy could regain control of her money, medical care, and daily life before the start of 2026. And we can only hope that is what happens, because this is just crazy that this is going on right now, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, now let's move on to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, everybody is aware of the Donald Trump Jeffrey Epstein saga. Everyone has been calling for these files. Of course, it is Donald Trump's own party who has been calling for these files. This is a photo of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, probably back in the 90s was when this was taken. Of course, I've told you guys on my channel before how these two were strange bedfellows, or perhaps not that strange, back in the 90s when Donald Trump was a socialite, essentially a rich guy, real estate mogul socialite in New York City. Now, he isn't accepted anywhere in New York City proper, particularly in the circles that he used to run in. And at this point, um, it's just one of those things where everybody is trying to see where the other shoe is going to drop. Now, there are legal analysts in the know that are currently saying that Donald Trump may not outlast the scandal surrounding this Epstein, you know, uh, this Epstein sex offender scandal, and that the files related to the investigations of the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, you know, this that he just Donald Trump may not survive this. That his Now listen, we all know that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein. It was mentioned by his own investigators, his own party, the folks in his own administration, that he was mentioned in the Epstein files prior to all of this coming to light back in May. I actually talked about it on my show on an episode that the Trump administration knew back in April that Donald Trump was mentioned over 30 times in the Epstein files, and that they redacted some of those files that they did release, and that in part he wasn't allowing those files to be seen because he was named, and they came out with it and said as much. It made the press, and everyone knows that he was mentioned. So this is the reason why legal analysts now are saying that, well, he may not survive this scandal. Like, he may not be able to do it. Now, why does it matter? Well, the new release of the emails of Epstein's estate, of course, it reignited controversy. I don't know about reignited because I think it's continued to be a thing. I don't think it ever has died down. I think everyone is mentioning these Epstein files, and people have accused Donald Trump of sort of, utilizing other topics and other political, avenues to sort of distract or detract from what's happening with the Epstein files, which is nothing until now, right? Now, House Democrats and some Republicans are pushing for full transparency, of course, and the potential release of thousands of pages of government files has heightened the public and political scrutiny, of course. Now, legal analysts and congressional representatives question whether the unfolding events could have significant consequence for Trump's political standing, public perception, and institutional accountability. Well, what to know? Well, at this point, nothing, this is legal analysts are saying that nothing that's in the Epstein files are a surprise. And I think that's all our points. Like, we know, we've seen this before. We knew that he was involved with this guy. So nothing is a surprise here. Now, the newly released emails, let's talk about how the emails were released. So the lawmakers, part of the oversight committee, released more than 20,000 pages of documentation from the estate of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, this was done during the shutdown. So the shutdown is over now, but a few days ago when this came to light, this was done during the shutdown. So this could have been one of, the Democrats sort of shot over the barrel to say we're serious to get this shutdown, sort of moving, of course, because they have demands that wanted to be met as it relates to the Affordable Care Act. So it could have been them saying, we're going to release this. We don't know why the oversight committee decided to do this at this point, but early on Wednesday, the Democrats of the House Oversight Committee published 3 email exchanges, including correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein, who died, of course, in prison in 2019, and his longtime associate, rather, Jesselyn Maxwell, who, of course, is in prison now, serving 20 years. And you guys know all the sort of avenues going on with her now as well. They also released emails between Epstein and the author, Michael Wolff, who has written numerous books about Donald Trump. So within hours, House Democrats released a massive tranche of documents to counter what they said was a Democratic effort to cherry pick the documents within the Epstein files, right? They also said it was an attempt to create a fake narrative to slander Donald Trump. So that's what they're saying. Now, the emails that were obtained by the committee after it subpoenaed the Epstein estate as part of its own probe, that's how they obtained those documents. So the oversight committee, they subpoenaed Epstein's estate for the documents as part of their probe into the federal investigation of Epstein. So that's pretty much how all of this popped off. But let's talk about the emails and exactly what they say, what they said. I'm going to try and get one up here so that I can show you guys what these emails said so you can know. But it's really quite interesting because these emails are like literally no surprise. Like, everyone knew that this was probably happening, that this obviously was a thing. But it's one of those things where, the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself has been hiding it because he has been, denying that there was ever any relationship. Now you're looking at one of the emails that they pulled. It says, let's start from the bottom up. So this is Jeffrey Epstein speaking to someone. It says, I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, a young lady, likely a teenager, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 70% there, is what he says. And whomever he's talking to says, I'm thinking about that. And I believe the email says G Max. So this is probably just Lean Maxwell that he's speaking to on that note. And so basically, the first email, this email here, this is from 2011. This, of course, as I said, is an exchange between Epstein and Maxwell about Donald Trump. Okay. And so the victim's name, of course, was redacted in the email because she is a potential crime victim, sexual crime victim, also underage at the time. But if you look at other documents that were released, the girl's name, they say, is named Virginia. And they are referring to the late Virginia Giuffre. Now, Virginia Giuffre is the young lady that died by suicide last year. Now, there's a lot of speculation that this young lady did not commit suicide. She came out right before she supposedly committed suicide, and said that she had just days to live. There was something about a kidney infection and all these things going on, but she ended up ending her life, they say. Now, in a statement, the White House said that Virginia repeatedly said that Donald Trump was not involved in any wrongdoing. But in a 2016 deposition that Virginia participated in, she stated that she never saw Trump participate in any abuse. And then, of course, in her memoir, she said that he didn't do anything wrong. But um, that doesn't mean that she wasn't under pressure or something like that, especially with the fact that she just mysteriously ended up dead. She would be the second, person to end up, just mysteriously committing suicide, much like the whole Jeffrey Epstein situation, committing suicide in prison, even though all fingers point to the fact that he didn't do that, and that it would have been hard for him to do that. Some people who are even Trump supporters and Republicans have said that, who know about this prison, which is the same holding facility that Sean Combs was in, that it would be very difficult for him to do that. And they even analyzed the cameras and all of that. So people from both sides in the aisle want to know what really happened. And this young lady dying by suicide, and this email coming up, and that, the unredacted version of this email basically says that the victim's name is Virginia. This is very concerning. Okay. This is just very concerning. So what do the other emails say? So there are exchanges between Epstein and the author Wolf, and they basically show how Wolf writes to Epstein back in 2015 to notify him that CNN is planning to ask Donald Trump about their relationship, and either on air or afterwards, right? And Epstein responds. He says the following. He says, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it would be? And the author says, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. And then he adds, of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say that Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. And so They go on and they talk about in a separate email coming from October 2016 that days before the U.S. presidential election, that this author or Wolf offers Epstein a chance to sit for an interview that could finish Donald Trump. He says there's an opportunity to come forward this week and talk about Trump in such a way that could garner you great sympathy and help finish him. Are you interested? And then, Epstein says, well, Trump said he asked me to resign, apparently referring to his membership as the president of Mar-a-Lago, a club, adding and adding that he was never a member ever. And Epstein adds that, of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Jesselyn to stop. So he was responding, that was Epstein responding to the fact that Donald Trump knew about the girls. He knew that these girls were coming to the Mar-a-Lago club, and he asked Jesselyn to stop bringing them, essentially. So what does this mean for Donald Trump? I mean, it could just mean it could mean a lot of things. It could mean that they will let it fly, and not hold him accountable for the things that he has been doing. Or it could mean that there will be some retribution involved in this. Now, currently, right now, the House will soon vote on whether to publicly release the full set of Epstein related government records. Some of it will be what I have just talked about here. And obviously, some of it will be sort of like, very sort of minutia, and not, a whole lot of exchanges that make sense for what's going on with Donald Trump, but will further incriminate a very dead Jeffrey Epstein, of course. And so the petition that the House will vote on will is to compel a vote surpass the required 218 signature threshold with the swearing in of U.S. representatives uh, 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 for Arizona on Wednesday. Now, the bipartisan push is being led by the Democrats, and a representative out of California, and a Republican congressman out of Kentucky, who are contending that only full transparency can address the lingering public mistrust stemming from the Epstein case. Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see where all of this lands. Obviously, this is extremely important. Cass and Court will definitely keep our eyes on this. I mean, the reality is that nothing could happen. And that's kind of been the sort of focal point, the central point of the Donald Trump regime, is that we find out these sorts of things have happened. We, find out all of these criminal acts have happened. And then in a court of law, as it relates to, tax evasion, or as it relates to the Epstein files, or as it relates to some of what's going on and being talked about in the Supreme Court, it goes unchecked. Because he is, holding on to sort of like this king mentality. Even some of the things going on right now as it relates to him filing charges against his enemies, for example. So that this is something that we're gonna all have to wait and see. But I definitely wanted to cover the Epstein of it all because these files are very important, guys. We have to keep our eyes on this. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today. Cass and Court TV, your girl, Miss Public Info. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Enjoy the weather, guys. It's starting to cool down around the country. You see, I'm in my fall winter sweater dress here. So I am definitely with it. You guys get with it too. We will see you later. Do not forget to subscribe and like, and please don't forget to engage in the comments. Thanks so much, guys, and we will see you soon. Peace.